When a baby elephant laid down and wouldn't wake up, its mother became worried that something was wrong. But it's what the mother did next that will truly shock you and leave you speechless. This incredible tale took place in the Prague Zoo in the capital of the small Central European country of the Czech Republic. There was an elephant enclosure containing several large Indian elephants. The enclosure itself was large and expansive, and it gave the elephants plenty of room to roam around and enjoy themselves. Two of the animals that they had in there were a large female named Janita and her male partner Mekong. The two of them had taken a shine to each other from their first meeting, and it wasn't long before Janita fell pregnant. The zoo staff were over the moon that they were going to be welcoming a baby elephant to their facility. The pregnancy would last 2 whole years, but in reality, that time flew by. Soon enough, Janita gave birth to a male that was known as Max. Now, some people called Max the miracle elephant, as he was the first of his species to ever have been conceived and born in the Czech Republic. The zoo had amassed 8 elephants since they opened, but none of them had ever actually given birth to a child until now. This was a big step in their efforts to conserve the Indian elephant population, not only to help them survive, but also to thrive. His conception meant that the herd felt happy and safe inside the zoo, and that the environment reminded the elephants of their native land. Unfortunately, their natural habitat is being destroyed at an increasing rate, and without the help of zoos such as the one in Prague, elephants would more than likely be resigned to becoming extinct. Max was adorable and a hit with not only the zookeepers but also the visitors. The cute little elephant would run around after his mother, playing in the watering hole and rolling in the mud. It was as if Max was more like a dog than an elephant. He would often wander up to the glass that separated the visitors from the animals and playfully tap his little trunk on it, much to everyone's delight. As with all the children of any species, Max was curious and playful. He not only liked to run around and expend his youthful elephant energy, but also enjoyed exploring and discovering new things. From the moment he woke up in the morning to the second before he fell asleep, Max was constantly on the go, and that was just fine with the zookeepers because not only were they sure that he was fit and healthy, but this adorable little addition to the family certainly kept the visitors happy. Elephants are usually calm and relaxed creatures, so being able to see a youngling roam free and play all day was the highlight of many people's visits. Both children and adults would cheer on him every time he picked up a new skill or discovered something exciting inside his enclosure, and parents would feel a familiar tug at their heartstrings whenever he went searching for his mother at the end of the day. Max was just like a human baby, just bigger and four-legged. His days were all somewhat similar, but he always managed to find something new and exciting to do. But one day, something very out of the ordinary happened. It was during the mid-afternoon, and Max had been playing like any other day as Janita kept an eye on him, but he suddenly walked over to a shaded area and lay down on the ground as if he was exhausted. At first, no one thought anything of it, believing it to all be part of his play, but after a while, the motionless infant started to raise a few eyebrows. Of course, no one was more concerned than Janita. She slowly walked over to Max to check on him, all the while with a nervous look in her eyes. She was a very protective mother, and because this was her very first child, she was extra cautious about her son. The longer Max remained on the ground, the more people started to get concerned. The usually chatty crowd of visitors looking at the elephants had fallen silent and were waiting to see if Max would get back up. But he remained lying there completely still. They watched as Janita nudged him with her trunk and foot as if trying to rouse him. The worry only got even worse when Max started twitching on the floor. Janita started to circle around her son as if trying to figure out if there was something up with him. It was clear that the mother elephant wanted to help her baby, but there was seemingly nothing she could do. All she could do was to continue stroking and nudging him with her trunk to try to get him up, But it seemed like all her efforts were in vain as Max was completely unresponsive. Strangely, though, none of the other elephants in the enclosure seemed as worried as poor Janita. Even Mekong, Max's father, remained a distance away and didn't seem to want to get involved in all the fuss. They all just stood there watching from a distance. No one approached to help or to see what the issue was. They just waited and patiently observed the mother elephant's reaction. Zookeepers found this to be very strange behavior, as elephants would usually help each other out and be protective. Normally, if one was in distress, as Janita so obviously was, the rest of the herd would swoop in and try to help out in any way that they could. Once more, Janita returned to nudging her child to get him to stand up, but nothing seemed to be doing the trick. She pushed him harder and more aggressively, and Max would only twitch and then go back to staying as still as a stone. Zookeepers had all sorts of things running through their heads. Perhaps Max had become dehydrated after playing for hours under the sun and had collapsed. Maybe he had hurt himself and could no longer walk, or maybe he was weakened by some kind of illness. They just didn't know. But it's what happened next that left everyone stunned and with their mouths hanging open in shock. Janita turned away from her son to look towards the crowd of people where several zookeepers were also watching on with great concern. She raised her trunk and started to wave it as if trying to get the attention of one of the members of staff. Perhaps they would be able to come and help poor Max. Everyone was shaken by her forethought to seek out the help of the humans. Many animals would not have been capable of this kind of logical or rational thinking, but Janita was seemingly trying to communicate to the humans, asking them for help. No one could believe what they were seeing, but the zookeepers wasted no time answering her plea for assistance, and they quickly entered the large elephant enclosure. Many of the other elephants were a safe distance away, and even Janita backed off as the staff approached Max, who was still twitching on the floor. She watched on with pleading eyes, hoping that they would be able to help. Things really weren't looking up for her son. The zookeepers tried pushing Max to make him stir and maybe get up, but it didn't work. They tried pushing harder to see if it made a difference and they could get a response, but it seemed as if their efforts were in vain. But just as things started to look their darkest, a huge smile broke out on the zookeepers' faces, and they let out a sigh of relief as Max stood up and ran around playing as if nothing had just happened. It appears that the little elephant just needed a power nap. How would you have reacted if you had noticed that Max the baby elephant was laid down motionless? What are your thoughts on how Janita reacted? As always, we love to hear from you, so be sure to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments section down below.